Welcome back, guys. This is Automotive Anonymous, and that is the all-new second-gen 2024 Chevy Trax, and today we're going to review it. That means we're going to do a walk around, go through the specs, initial driving impressions, and 0 to 60 with the GPS before our final thoughts to decide, should you even consider the Trax, or should you maybe consider one of its competitors, such as the Corolla Cross, maybe even the Kia Soul. We're here to find out. I want to mention that this is Jinx Metallic, or as I like to call it, red. It's also the LT, which is the third of the 5 trim levels. That means it's the middle sibling. So it is the LT, which stands for limited traditionally, or in this case, little Trax. It's not the baby Trax, it's not the infant Trax. It's the little Trax right at dab smack in the middle. And we're gonna move on with this review. Let's dive right in. And big shout out to the Twin Falls Chevy for letting me borrow their vehicle for the day. I'll link it below if you're interested. If you like my style, please consider liking this video. You can always subscribe if you want to watch more of my stuff. But otherwise, we're going to move on to what you came here to see. New for 2024, the Trax is bigger, more aggressive, has a lot more safety features and tech that we're going to dive into shortly. But I do want to mention there are the 5 trim levels. Like I said, the LT is the third. You start with the LS, then the 1 RS, then the LT, then the 2 RS, and then finally the Active. These are set to be about $5,000 less than what the Trailblazer equivalent would be. And what's kind of cool is the base model before destination actually starts at about 20,000 bucks. The way this LT with some options is spec'd, it's closer to 24 and change. The first generation of the Trax spanned from 2013 to 2023. These are manufactured in Korea. They're also manufactured in China. And in the United States, for the last generation, the yearly sales numbers range from about 26,000 on a low year, over 116,000 on a good year, so they're a pretty popular compact crossover. These are rated to be about 2 inches wider and 11 inches longer than the first generation, putting them at about 15 feet long, roughly 5 feet tall, and just under 6 feet wide. It has a 353 final drive ratio. Again, front wheel drive with a whopping 7.3 inches of ground clearance. It takes 35 feet to do a full circle, which is pretty average for this class. That's actually about the same as a Subaru BRZ, a couple feet shorter than some of the bigger crossovers. So it's pretty agile on its feet. This weighs roughly 3,000 pounds, has a 9-foot wheelbase, so it's fairly planted on the road. And then payload or cargo capacity between your people in the seats and your stuff in the back is roughly 1,100 to 1,200 pounds, depending on the specific configuration of yours. Gas tank's located there on the driver's side. It's rated for 28 city, 32 highway. So with a 14-gallon tank, you should be able to get about 440 miles of range between fill-ups. Personally, I think Chevy needs to come out with an SS model, replace the black accents with some actual aero, and plop in that 3.6 liter over 300 horse V6 that some other models have. Anyways, this has a 225/60/17. The wheel looks good. The all-season tire looks pretty good. And then you even have remote start on this one, as well as proximity key, keyless features to lock and unlock. They work really well. But let's hop inside, get out of the wind. The door panel of this new Trax actually looks really good. You have kind of a 2-tone color with some black piano-like accents. You have a decent sized handle. It's not a rubber line, but there's a little bit of a lip to grab. Then you have a bottle holder and a miniature sized door panel that actually extends back a little further than you might think to hide some goodies down there. What are you hiding? Comment below. Unnamed speaker. It does sound decent though. I was listening to Foreigner on my way over here, and it actually is insulated pretty well, so those speakers do a good job. The cloth seats are manually adjusted, but they do look good. They have some nice stitching and they're very comfortable in my experience. Floor mats are just cloth on this one. You have the hood release, you have rubberized pedals, and then you have your lighting controls, lighting stock, and your ventilation. Sitting inside the Trax is actually a really nice place to be. I'm going to post a picture of the window sticker right here. Anyways, we're going to fire it up with the push button start. Roars to life, that whopping 1.2 liter engine. 11-inch screen looks fantastic. Center display looks really nice too. I like the little odometer. You can see how it revs and actually hear the turbo spool under load. Otherwise, the wheel, it's leather wrapped, it's heated, it feels really good. You have all your adaptive cruise settings on the left. You even have a basic heads-up display, blind spot monitoring on the mirrors, and some other goodies. On the back, you can change the radio stations. On the right, where paddle shifters would be, you can change the volume, but you also have some volume and voice controls here. The horn sounds decent. And the armrest, it's comfortable. The buttons are where they need to be. I like the physical buttons we still have for all the HVAC, climate. You have a 12-volt and some USBs down there. A non-rubber lined but deep and sunken in storage pocket, which is going to hold your stuff. At least it's going to slide around, but it's at least contained down there. Piano black with some brushed chrome, brushed aluminum type of trimming, and it's out of the way of that armrest. So it's pretty cool. You do have some extra storage right here, and then a deep center armrest with nothing in it, but at least it's deep. Hope you guys can catch that on camera. Otherwise, going through the screen, you have your music, your phone connectivity, your traction control, and other settings. We're just gonna turn that off. Some more vehicle information, and then Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, just the rest of your features. There's honestly not a lot that you get access through the center screen, but it does an okay job. You have your basic mirror, OnStar settings, and lighting up top, but not a lot else. Let's turn it off. Let's hop in the back and see how we fit behind ourselves in the Trax. The back door panel follows the same theme, but you don't get the two-tone door card. You just get black on this one. Thankfully, it's basic Chevy materials that seem to age really well and clean up easily. You have an unnamed speaker again, and a miniature size pocket that again extends back just a few extra inches. Nothing on the door sill. The bench in the back, it's a 60-40 split. It actually looks really good. It's easy to drop, it's fairly lightweight, and then almost flat to the loading floor in the back. Hopping in it though, there's no floor mats on this one, and there aren't any in the back. There's also no map pocket. I guess Chevy doesn't want you to be a backseat driver in the Trax, which is unfortunate. But you do have a lot of room. It's kind of surprising how much room some of these compact crossovers actually have. There's also no armrest or cup holders in the middle. I don't know what gives with that, but you do get some plug-ins. So I guess you could plug it in, connect it to your phone, and slide it in there, because that's what you're gonna be doing when you're in the back of the Trax. Otherwise, it's honestly a pretty comfortable seat, pretty nice place to be. You can see that there's airbags listed all throughout, and I'm having a good time back here. Well, let's hop out, let's go around, see what the hatch looks like. To open the hatch, you gotta use the button that's underneath the Chevy emblem. It's not a power liftgate, but those shocks do a fantastic job. And then you have a sunshade or a privacy shade to hide your stuff. Back here, you actually have a pretty good storage amount. It's 6 cubic feet more than the last gen, as Chevy advertises, which puts it to 25.6 feet. If you drop the 3 seats, you have about 54 cubic feet, which is about the same as a Crosstrek. Not too bad. You have a little bit of storage sunken in on the driver's side, not sunken in on the passenger side, with tie downs on both sides and an incandescent light. And then you have a temporary spare tire down here. The loading floor is a couple inches higher than it though, so you can hide a lot of goodies down here. What are you gonna be secretly hiding underneath the back floor of the Trax? Comment below. Otherwise, it's easy to lower. The shocks aren't too resistant. And we're gonna hop in the passenger rear. We're gonna keep this one short because you guys know the routine. Door panel looks really good, easy to clean, pretty comfortable. No map pocket, no backseat drivers here. And then the other side, the 60 split, which is a little bit heavier than the 40, but really not too bad. The shotgun seat rider still has proximity key features, but you don't have that extra hidden cutout for the key that's in the remote. That's a feature that's reserved only for the driver. But when we hop inside the Trax, the door panel looks really good. Again, you get that door card. That's a contrasting color. Nothing on the door sill. Physical controls to adjust your seat, but our backpack is feeling safe and very well strapped in. Otherwise, no storage here, no hidden glove box above. You just have a non-locking glove box right here that has a lot of goodies in terms of space, but not in terms of plugins, because I don't see any. Anyways, it's more than adequate for this class of vehicle. Let's come around to the front, finally pop the hood, and see what that 1.2 liter little engine that has a turbo actually looks like. Under the hood, it's actually a pretty clean, pretty easy to identify setup. You have all your reservoirs up top, brake fluid there. You have your induction to the air filter through all the turbo plumbing and piping. The turbo's right back there. And through the intake side to the intake manifold and into the engine. You have 5W30, oil fill, oil dipstick. It is a front-wheel drive based platform, so the serpentine belt is very thin on this little engine, and it's located right there, right next to that alternator. And these make a whopping 137 horsepower at about 5,000 RPM and 162 pound-feet of torque at 2,500 RPM. So honestly, after driving the Chevy Trailblazer with the same engine, this one actually feels pretty peppy. I know some people question the reliability of these because they are such a little engine, but I have personal experience with a 1.4 liter turbo in one of the older Chevy models. Has about 60,000 miles on it and has never had any sort of mechanical issue thus far. This is a similar platform, more designed, better engineered, and the vehicle weighs about the same, so I honestly think it's probably a pretty good platform for this size of vehicle. But let's drop the hood, take it on the road, see how it does. And we're gonna teleport to my favorite road to do the driving impressions, and then we'll come back around for the final thoughts. Initial driving impressions of this all-new Trax is honestly that it's fantastic. It's really smooth on the road. Visibility is pretty good. Only the C-pillar do you not see out very well with the width of it. But that's typically what you get on hatchbacks and things like this. That's where those big old side mirrors come in really handy because you can see super well out of it. You do feel like you ride with a little bit of height, larger than you might anticipate for being a compact crossover. I feel like I'm pretty level with a lot of those other mid-sized little SUVs. But of course, when you're sitting in the driver's seat, you often feel a little bit higher than another driver might see you. Just seems to be kind of how it goes. Steering wheel is comfortable in hand, like I mentioned. You know, the armrest, everything was just really well placed, really well ergonomically engineered, at least for someone of my size, about 5'11". Those screens and, you know, odometer, like I said, look really good. I just love them. And it's actually fairly peppy. It feels more so than the Trailblazer, and more so than a lot of the similarly horsepowered, naturally aspirated configurations where we live at about 4,000 feet of altitude. I did forget to mention, it has heated seats. They're not the best I've had, but they're adequate. It is a 3-stage system, so they work pretty well. Otherwise, we have a stop sign up here. There's maybe 3 millimeters, maybe 3.5 millimeters of slack, if that, and then it's just progressive. Stops really well when you don't weigh that much. Peak torque comes on at 2,500 RPM, so you can really feel it down low. And we're back up to speed, not even trying, not even stressing the engine out very much. And getting about 30 miles per gallon. You're gonna be having a lot of fun on a budget. This one looks like just under 25,000, so not too bad for all these features you get and all the adaptive features. Something I really like, if you can see that on the display, is it shows how far away you are from the other vehicles. That's a feature I've seen on higher end Chevy trucks and some of the other vehicles, but not on the lower end models like this, so that is actually really cool. Not much road noise, although we are on a pretty decent road today. There's not a lot of gravel or anything, but I haven't heard any rocks get kicked up like you hear on some other vehicles. And the wind, you know, we're having roughly 10 mile per hour wind with gusts in the teens. And honestly, the cabin is insulated pretty well. You could see there wasn't any extra insulation where that spare tire goes, so you know Chevy has to cut some corners to keep the price down for you guys. But cabin insulation, I think, is actually pretty good, all things considered. Braking, again, is just fantastic. The seat bolstering is not aggressive, as you can see, so it's comfortable. A lot of people are going to fit well in here. I think you could probably be maybe 6'3", maybe 6'4", and still fit pretty comfortably in here. I have a lot of headroom and knee room, a few inches on each end. It just depends on your body and your pressure points, things like that. But honestly, it's a really nice ride, and I think Chevy has actually done a really good job with this. But I know what you guys are dying to see. You want to see how fast it is. 0 to 60 with the GPS. Let's teleport to that private road. We're of course going to brake rev the 6-speed automatic. Traction control and stability control are turned off. Density altitude today though is about 4,700 feet, so even though this is turboed, it's still down on power about 7%. I'll verbalize the true 0 to 60 and then show you without the FIV rollout what it does. I don't know if you heard that, the torque converter is fantastic. It let it brake rev to almost 3,000. It actually did a little bit of a front wheel drive burnout, and 0 to 60 came in at 9.44, which I will say it felt a little bit faster than that, but 9.44 is not super impressive. But that is about a second and a half faster than a lot of the naturally aspirated equivalent horsepower rated vehicles that this competes with at our altitude. So keep that in mind. It's all about perspective, and this actually did a little bit better than I was expecting. Final thoughts of the all-new 2024 Trax is honestly, I think it's a pretty darn good vehicle for about 24,000 on this one. It's fairly peppy on the road where we live at altitude. It doesn't lose as much power as you saw. It's pretty planted, you know, with the wheelbase being about 9 feet, the wheels are pretty pushed out far to the ends of the vehicle. You can actually fit adults in the back seat. You have over 25 cargo capacity cubic feet in that rear end, which looks pretty darn good. You have kind of the wide fenders, the wide hips. It has the Chevy bow tie, which I've always been a fan of Chevy personally. But what are your thoughts, guys? Comment below. I want to know, are you going to buy one? Are you going to consider it compared to the competition? What are you comparing it to? Have you ridden in or driven it yet? Or what about the first generation? Just tell me all your stuff. Give me your social security number. Just tell me all about your life in the comments. I want to hear it. I read all of them. Anyways, guys, if you like my style, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. If you want this one or want to check out a great dealership, I'll link them below. And otherwise, guys, take care until the next one. See ya.